Hello, welcome back to YouTube Portfolio. We will get into engineers and why they aren't all that rich in a second, but first I'm going to go over how our portfolio did. So if you don't know what YouTube Portfolio is, it's essentially just a portfolio run by YouTube. All you got to do is leave a comment down below, and the highest rated one will be what we do that week. You can tell me to buy or sell a stock, whatever you want. I haven't, as you can tell if you've watched the last video, added $5 this week. That is because this is pre-recorded. I'll be going out of town missing the next 2 weeks, but then I'll be back. This is how our portfolio did, down 2.14%. So not all that great. That was fueled by, I think, a pretty big loss in Palantir. Overall, it looks like GameStop is also down a whole lot as well. Anyway, let's get into the video. Hello, so today we're going to be talking about engineers and why engineers aren't all that rich. So the first thing we have to know is that the average annual salary in the US is $56,000 a year. If you are planning on going to college and you're looking at majors, you shouldn't look at average annual salary of the jobs you want. Instead, what you should look at is that actual university's statistics, because most universities release statistics on how their graduates do right after college, and these can be super helpful resources. So today we're going to be looking at my alma mater, Virginia Tech. This is their College of Engineering, and this is their engineering average salary. So right here is their overall college average. This is the top 25%, and this right here is the bottom 25%. As you can see, the average is $70,000 a year, which is pretty good. That is $14,000 a year more than the national average for salary. However, that is not anywhere near being super loaded, super rich. People always say engineers are rich, but that is not rich. Let's take a look at some other colleges that maybe have some more prestigious engineering departments and get some higher level graduates. Looking at University of Virginia, their average annual salary is about $77,000 a year, which is pretty good, but remember that is still only about $20,000 a year more than the national annual average, which if you break that down, when you lose about 30% of that to taxes, that's about $14,000 more in cash a year, which means about a little bit more than $1,000 extra a month, which, while really nice, doesn't make you rich. Now let's look at the top of the top. Let's go ahead and look at Carnegie Mellon. So here's the average annual salary for engineers from Carnegie Mellon, and as you can see, it's about $10,000 more than UVA. It's about $87,000. And as you can see, they have a huge range. So another thing I wanted to talk about, and I think that is best seen at the Virginia Tech level, is the range of engineers. So we have the software engineer from the computer science department earning an average of $82,000 a year, whereas the civil engineers are earning about $62,000 a year. That's a $20,000 a year difference, which is enormous, and that is just among people who chose different majors in college. Another thing I want to look at is career progression and how that can put you into the rich. So let's look at the top 1% of every US state. So looking at some of these, the average annual income you have to earn to be in the top 1% is about $300,000 a year in Alabama, and the story only gets higher from there, with California being about $500,000 you have to earn a year to be in the top 1%. And Washington, D.C. being even higher than that, the highest state, I believe, being Connecticut at $700,000 a year. But the story is just about the same. Anywhere from $300,000 to $700,000 a year is what you need to be in the top 1%. That's what you need to be, quote unquote, rich, according to at least the protesters from a few years ago. So let's look at career progression in engineering, and specifically the engineering that I know, software engineering. So today we're going to be looking at Capital One's career progression, and I'm going to tell you how all these levels kind of play out and where in your career you would expect to be at each of these positions. So first, we want to go for the associate engineer. Now this is an engineer who's been with the company less than about 2 years, 1 to 2 years, the average increase from an associate to a software engineer. And this average salary is about $110,000 a year. Now, let's look at the software engineer. This is about 2 years, anywhere from 2 to 6, somewhere around there. Now this is $124,000 a year. The senior level engineer are going to be a little bit older. They're usually going to be, I would say, somewhere from 6 to 10 years, somewhere around there is going to be when you are a senior level engineer, and they make about $144,000 a year. Then the master software engineer. This is the first level at Capital One, I would say, that is not attainable by everybody in any stretch of the word. It is $181,000 a year. Not every team has a master software engineer. Not every team needs a master software engineer. They're in charge of a ton of things. This is a person who is really, really driven. This is a really hard position to get to and is not something that everybody ends up getting to. Let's go one step further, look at the lead software engineer. As you can see, the 230, this is in New York, but this would almost break into the top 1% for somebody if they were living in Alabama or Mississippi or one of those states instead. Then let's look at a director. Now, a director has huge departments, tons of stuff. This is an extremely prestigious position. It is very, very hard to get to. As you can see, these people both had 20 plus years of experience here, and they are about at $260,000 a year, which still doesn't put them in the 1%. And remember, this is a 20-year position, and these people are not just any people who have been there for 20 years. They have been really, really working hard. And unfortunately, we do not have any compensation data for a senior director, but I can tell you they've probably broken into the 1%, depending on which state. They probably don't make more than 300, 400, 500,000. They're somewhere in that range, probably less than 400, I would assume, probably around the 300 mark. And remember, this is somebody who has really been kicking butt all their career, done really, really, really well, and has been there for probably 20 to 25 years. Now, let's look at another company and compare. So this is Google. Everybody knows Google for being the highest paying job ever in the world with slides and stuff and happiness. And let's look at their level. So you can actually see that these people make $187,000 a year as a starting salary, and that is more than the master software engineer makes at Capital One, which is insane. Looking at their level 4, this is about 2 years in, somewhere around there, 2 to 3 years in, and they make about $263,000 a year, which is absolutely insane and is pretty much the most that anybody is going to make at Capital One. Here's somebody who is a director making just the same amount as somebody who is 2 years into the industry at Google. Then we can look at a senior software engineer. Now, this is somebody who's not a guarantee for everybody to get to, but they make about $350,000 a year. Now, this is the level where you really start to break into this top 1%. If that's our measure of what rich is, then this is the level where you break into the top 1%. Now, this is not a level that everybody can attain. It's a very hard level to get to, and it's not something that everybody gets to in their career. We can look up here, and you've pretty much guaranteed your spot in the top 1% once you get to staff and senior staff. The story just keeps going on with, oh my God, with somebody who's a principal making $1 million a year and 1.7 at that level right there. And there's no data for that Google fellowship. This is just to show you that not only is there a huge disparity between different engineers inside of different majors and different engineering disciplines, there's also huge disparities between engineers in the same disciplines, just in different companies. So just wanted to share that with you, tell you why not all engineers are rich. In fact, not many of them actually are. If you use that benchmark of the 1%, it's only the best engineers at some of the best high-paying companies that actually make that benchmark. Thanks for watching. Remember, this is YouTube Portfolio, so if you want me to buy or sell a stock, all you gotta do is leave a comment down below. I will do whatever the highest rated comment is the next week. I will be off the next 2 weeks, but be back the first week of January. Make sure you check back in that week, see how our portfolio did over the extended holiday, and see what stock we end up buying.